Okay, so James, I have to tell you something before we even get started today because I am still recovering from this morning and I feel like you need to know.
Oh, wow. Already? We haven't even said hello to anyone yet. Okay. What happened?
So, you know how I've been trying to be more adventurous with my coffee, like stepping outside of my usual boring oat milk latte situation?
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that last week, actually. You were going on about trying new stuff.
Yes. So this morning I walked into the cafe around the corner, and on the specials board it said lavender cardamom oat milk latte. I thought, today is the day. I am a person who tries new things. I ordered it. I was so excited.
Okay, and I need to know everything.
James, it tasted like someone steeped a bar of soap in warm perfume and added a hint of anxiety, floral in a way that was deeply aggressive. I stood at the counter, took one sip, smiled politely at the barista because I didn't want to be rude, and then just walked out and suffered alone.
You suffered alone. Okay, I'm sorry. That's a little bit hilarious, but I feel you. My morning was also a disaster.
Wait, what happened to you?
Oh, where do I even begin? I made my coffee, normal coffee, no lavender, and put it down and grabbed my keys, and I could not find them. Coat pockets, the dish by the door, backpack, couch cushions, 10 solid minutes spiraling. Do you want to know where they were?
Where?
In my hand, the whole time. In my actual hand that I had been searching with. And then I picked up my coffee to finally take a sip, turned too fast, and spilled half of it directly onto my shirt. So I showed up today smelling faintly of coffee and defeat.
Okay, so between my soap latte and your coffee shirt, we are truly thriving over here. This is the English Coffee Talk Show, everybody, and we are your hosts. I'm Ava.
And I'm James. Slightly damp, but here.
So if you're new here, welcome. We're so glad you found us. This show is all about helping English learners sound more natural, more confident, and honestly, just more like a real person having a real conversation. We cover vocabulary, idioms, phrases, and storytelling, all wrapped up in conversations that, as you can probably tell, go a little bit off the rails sometimes. And today's episode is honestly one of my favorites because it's such a universal topic.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Today, we're talking about how to talk about your family in English. And I know that sounds simple, but honestly, there's so much vocabulary, so many great phrases and idioms that come up the second you start describing the people you grew up with. So let's get into it.
I'm ready. And honestly, I feel like I'm going to learn some things today too. Like sometimes I don't even know the right word for certain relatives, and I grew up speaking English.
That's kind of the thing. Family vocabulary gets complicated once you go beyond mom, dad, brother, sister. Extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, already gets tricky. Then add niece, nephew, in-laws, stepfamily, half-siblings, godparents, and suddenly people are wondering what the difference is between all of these.
Right. Can you quickly break those down? Like, I feel like niece and nephew trip a lot of people up.
Yes, absolutely. Your niece is your sibling's daughter, a girl. Your nephew is their son, a boy. Easy trick, niece and female both have an E sound. In-laws are family you gain through marriage, mother-in-law, brother-in-law. Stepfamily comes from a parent remarrying, and a half-sibling shares one biological parent with you, not both. Same mom, different dads, for example.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. And godparents, that's like the person chosen to look after a child if something happens to the parents, right?
Exactly. A godparent, godmother, godfather is chosen at a christening and takes on a special role in the child's life. And the beautiful thing about family vocabulary in English, it doesn't always mean blood relations. People say, he's more like a dad to me, or we're not blood related, but she's basically my sister. Because family is really about connection, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I have a few friends like that, actually. People I describe as family, even though we've got no official connection. It's just, yeah, it's that bond.
Exactly. And speaking of bonds, James, can I tell you something? You look incredibly familiar to me right now under this lighting. Has anyone ever told you that you are the spitting image of someone?
The spitting image? Okay, wait, is that good? That sounds slightly alarming when you say it like that.
It's a great thing. It means you look exactly like someone else. You're the spitting image of your father. It means you look so much alike, it's almost uncanny. Same face, same expressions, same mannerisms. It comes up all the time when people talk about family resemblances. I was going to say you remind me of my colleague, Marcus, the way you tilt your head when you're curious. Honestly, it's uncanny.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to choose to take that as a compliment. Spitting image. Okay, I like that one. It's very visual, right? Like you can almost picture two people side by side.
And family resemblance leads naturally to another phrase. It runs in the family. If something runs in the family, it's common across generations. A physical trait, a talent, a personality quirk.
Runs in the family. Yeah, I mean, stubbornness definitely runs in my family, like generationally. My dad is stubborn, my granddad was apparently legendarily stubborn, and I am also perhaps a little stubborn, I'm told.
You don't say. And that's a perfect example. You could say, stubbornness runs in my family. Simple, natural, easy to drop into conversation. Does your family have anyone who's kind of the odd one out? The person who does things completely differently from everyone else?
Oh, instantly, yes. My Uncle Terry, without question.
Uncle Terry. Okay, so in English, we have a phrase for that person, the black sheep of the family. The black sheep is the one who's seen as different, maybe a bit unconventional, doesn't quite fit the mold. It's not always negative. Sometimes the black sheep is just the most interesting person at the table. What did Uncle Terry do?
Uncle Terry was absolutely the black sheep, and I say that with complete affection. Everyone else showed up normally. Uncle Terry showed up in whatever he felt like. Once a Hawaiian shirt in December, carrying something random from a car boot sale. One year, he gave my mom a decorative brass elephant she had no idea what to do with. He also had a deep phase about biscuit conspiracy theories, and once argued at the dinner table that shortbread was invented as a government distraction. Nobody knew what to respond. We just nodded and passed the gravy.
A government biscuit conspiracy. James, I love Uncle Terry, and I have never met him. The brass elephant alone. That is such a perfect example of the black sheep of the family, someone who marches to the beat of their own drum. Every family has one, and they make everything more memorable.
Absolutely. He is deeply memorable. I'll give him that.
So James, talking about big family gatherings, it makes me think of Christmas at my family's house. And honestly, I have to tell you this story because it perfectly captures what it's like to come from a big, chaotic, loud, wonderful family. Are you ready?
I was born ready. Go.
Okay, so my family has this Italian side. My grandmother came from Italy, and that energy has infected everything. Big voices, big emotions, food is a love language. Every Christmas, everyone shows up. Immediate family, extended family, cousins, even a great aunt. Nobody's quite sure how she's related, but she's been coming for 25 years. And my great uncle Roberto, 91 years old, sits in the same armchair every year telling the exact same story about something in 1987. None of us can follow it. We just nod and say, "No way, Roberto," at the right moments.
I love him. I love Roberto. Please continue.
So last Christmas, the one that'll go down in family history, we had 22 people crammed into a house that fits about 12. My mom, my aunt, my cousin Julia, me, all trying to coordinate this enormous meal, everyone in each other's way, a child running through the kitchen every 40 seconds, pure chaos. And we had this beautiful roast in the oven. My mom had been preparing it all morning. And then, at the worst possible moment, my uncle's dog, Biscotto, which means biscuit in Italian, which in hindsight might be a warning.
Wait, the dog stole the roast?
He absolutely stole the roast. Someone left the oven door open, and Biscotto got his paws up and took the whole thing. We heard a crash, ran in, and there he was, triumphant in the garden, with zero remorse. My mom stood in the doorway just processing, and then Roberto called out from his armchair, "That's exactly what happened in 1987. We ended up ordering pizza for 22 people on Christmas Day. It became the best Christmas we ever had. More chaos, more laughter, more Roberto. I wouldn't have it any other way.
That might be the greatest story I've ever heard. Biscotto and Roberto connecting it to 1987. You said all hands on deck and the more the merrier. All hands on deck means everyone helping out, right?
Exactly. All hands on deck comes from sailing. Everyone needs to come up and help. Now it means everyone needs to pitch in. It was all hands on deck in the kitchen. And the more the merrier simply means the more people, the more enjoyable. Warm, welcoming, perfect for big gatherings. And that Christmas dinner, that's a close-knit family moment. Everyone laughing together, helping each other, nobody leaving early. Close-knit means very connected, very tight, very supportive. The bond is strong even in chaos.
Close-knit. I really like that one. It's got a warmth to it, you know? Like you can almost feel the coziness in the word itself.
Right? And we're a really close-knit family, communicates so much warmth in just a few words. James, speaking of close bonds, I want to hear about you and your sister. You've mentioned her before, and I feel like there's a very specific dynamic there.
Oh, yeah. Sarah and I we're close, genuinely close. But we were also very, very different as kids. She was 3 years older than me, and she was the responsible one, like textbook responsible. Got good grades, kept her room tidy, never really got into trouble. And then there was me.
And then there was you. Yeah, go on.
I was a project. Good intentions, but things just happened around me. Despite us being so different, Sarah and I were absolutely thick as thieves, inseparable. We'd bicker, but the second anything happened, we were a team. Best example, I was about 9 or 10. Parents in the garden, Sarah and I were inside. And for reasons I cannot explain, I decided to practice my football skills in the living room.
Oh, no.
Indoors, in the living room. My Sarah told me clearly, James, do not kick that ball. I understood, and I kicked the ball straight through the window. We both froze. My mom was coming inside. She always knew when something went wrong. Instead of turning me in, Sarah grabbed my arm and said, "Okay, here's what we're going to say." She invented a bird story and delivered it with total confidence. She had my back completely, even though I deserved none of it.
No way. Did your mom actually believe the bird story?
She absolutely did not believe it. She looked at us, looked at the football on the floor 3 feet from the window, and said, right, just right. We still got in trouble, but Sarah never once told her it was me who kicked it. That's just who she was.
That's honestly so sweet. And I love those phrases, James. She had my back means she supported you, protected you, was on your side. My best friend had my back when things got difficult. Thick as thieves means extremely close and inseparable, usually with a slightly mischievous edge. And eyes in the back of her head means someone notices everything, even out of sight. Parents always seem to have that. You can never get away with anything.
Never. It's like a superpower. And she had my back. I want to try using that. So I could say, my sister always had my back, even when I definitely didn't deserve it.
That is a perfect sentence. That is exactly right. Beautiful. You see, you're a natural.
I try. And I think the thing about Sarah is she's the spitting image of my mom, actually. Like the older she gets, the more I look at her and I see my mom at the same age in old photos. It's kind of wild.
I love that you used spitting image there. That's exactly how it comes up in conversation, so naturally. And it ties in beautifully with another phrase, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Because if Sarah looks like your mom and has her responsible, protective personality, that apple really didn't fall far, did it?
Oh, that's a good one. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So that means a child is very similar to their parent, like in personality or behavior.
Exactly. It means a child has inherited qualities, traits, habits, values from their parents. The image is an apple falling from a tree and landing close to where it came from. So if someone's very much like their parent, you'd say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The same career, same sense of humor, same stubbornness, which, James, I feel very much applies to you.
I mean, yeah, I cannot argue with that. The apple did not move far at all. It basically just sat there under the tree.
Okay, we've covered so much good stuff today. Let's do a quick recap before we wrap up. Ready, James?
Ready, hit me.
Okay, number one, close-knit family. Describes a family that is very connected, bonded, supportive. I come from a really close-knit family. We're all very involved in each other's lives. It's warm, positive, and tells people so much about your family dynamic in just a few words.
And for me, close-knit family makes me think of chaos and noise and everyone in the kitchen at once, which, after hearing Ava's story, I think is exactly right.
Ah, yes, that is honestly the purest definition. Number two, spitting image. This means someone looks exactly like another person. She's the spitting image of her grandmother. You'll hear this one a lot when families are looking at old photos or when a baby is born and everyone's saying who they look like. It's one of those phrases that just sounds so natural once you start using it.
Yeah, and I'm now very aware that I apparently look like someone called Marcus, so spitting image has a very personal meaning for me today. Hi, Marcus, wherever you are.
He's a lovely man, for the record. Okay, number three, run in the family. This means something is common across generations of a family. A talent, a trait, a habit. Musical ability runs in our family. A bad sense of direction runs in our family. Whatever it is, it's a pattern you see repeated through the family line. So natural, so easy to use.
And stubbornness runs in my family. Officially confirmed. I'm putting it on record.
Officially, legally confirmed. Last but not least, she had my back and thick as thieves. She had my back means she supported me, protected me, was on my side. Thick as thieves means extremely close and inseparable, usually with a slightly mischievous edge. My sister and I were thick as thieves as kids. You can use both beyond family, for friends, teammates, anyone you have that deep bond with.
I genuinely think she had my back might be one of the most useful phrases we've covered because it comes up all the time, like in so many different situations. Friendship, family, work, it all applies.
Exactly. It sounds so natural when you use it. And that's what this show is all about, giving you the tools to sound like yourself in English. On that note, the biggest thank you for spending this time with us today on the English Coffee Talk Show. If you're not subscribed, please do. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We're here every week with more conversations, more phrases, and more chaos.
And if this episode made you smile, go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It seriously means the world, and it helps other English learners find the show. More people to be thick as thieves with.
I love that framing. And if you've been nervous about speaking English with your family, just remember it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Use the words you know, try out a new phrase, and let the connection do the rest. That's what language is for. We'll see you in the next episode, and whatever you do, steer clear of lavender cardamom lattes.
Or at least have a backup coffee ready. You've earned that much. See you next time, everyone.